AFN will maintain 3 levels of archives. The first is a near-term storage, up to 24 months, that will be stored at each location. A regional near-term storage will also have copies of all the stations and bureaus files, and long-term storage and retrieval will be done via DIMOC. Producers will be responsible for managing their local archives, and the region will be responsible for both the regional near-term storage and the pushing of media to DIMOC. In addition to the large hard drives on your journalist workstations, each location should have a storage area network, or SAN. The SAN is where we're going to store things that we need for production, to include templates and donuts, graphic elements, your web assets, sound effects and beds, and most importantly, finished products. Everything on the SAN should be stored as MPEG-4, the same H.264 720p 2997 files that we were exporting for use by DMA production or AFN for post-production. While the file structure may be slightly different at each location, there should be folders for each type of these assets, and you merely copy them over to the appropriate folder. Finished products should be segregated by year and month to make it easier to find. Now, one of the most important things we archive is B-roll. Once the exporting is complete, video that might be needed in future products should be archived. Now, ideally, supervisors would determine the specific need for archive footage during the story assignment phase. This should be communicated to the producer before shooting begins. Once production is wrapped up, the producer should create a new sequence with prime cuts appended to the end of the name, as in this example. The sequence will consist of all of the best footage from your shoot, cleanly trimmed and without overlapping audio. Also include all usable and relevant interview responses, even if they weren't used in your story. In most cases, there will be footage in the Prime Cuts product that didn't make it into your final product. Be sure to include the accompanying audio and a 5-second slate at the beginning of the sequence. Before we get into the nuts and bolts of archiving your media, we need to take a minute to talk about the VIRIN. The VIRIN is the Visual Information Record Identification Number, and this number is required to be used when sending media to be archived by DIMOC. We're going to use the same methodology for the AFN archive as well. VIRINs uniquely identify every image shot by a military photographer by using 4 pieces of information: the date, the service of the photographer, an identification number of the photographer, also known as the Vision ID, and a sequence number. Below you see an example. You'll use this VIRIN number for your metadata and to name the file. The Vision ID is used as a component of the VIRIN. The Vision ID is assigned to a producer when they attend DINFOS. If you never received a Vision ID, you can register at the VI Professional website. The address is listed here below. Remember, you're going to need a CAC card to register. Okay, we're about set to export our prime cuts here for archiving. We've got all of our clips laid in here. We've got a slate set up, and we have our workspace set appropriately to encompass the video and the slate. We've got our prime cut sequence here, and we can go under File to export media, or use the shortcut Control M and bring up our dialog box. Okay, we're going to need to first set our format to QuickTime. This is a requirement of the good folks at DIMOC, so we'll go ahead and make that QuickTime here. And now we're going to need to set a preset. Now, there aren't quite the same number of presets that we normally have, so we're going to have to make some modifications. What we're going to do is we're going to get one that's close, which is let's see what we have here, 720p H.264. Okay, this one's close. It's 24 frames per second. We'll go ahead and take this one, and we'll make the appropriate changes in just a moment. We have to set up our output. So we click on that, and now the name is different now. The name is going to be our VIN number. And we just covered how to do that, so let's go ahead and put in our date, 4/15. We're going to put in our service, for me is D. And then we're going to put my Vision ID number, which is YM309 for those keeping score at home. And since this is the first product I'm going to be sending out on this day, it will be 001 as my sequence. If I have multiple products or multiple groups of prime cuts that I want to archive, I would just increment this for the remainder of the day, 001, 002, etc. We'll go ahead and save, but before we save, let's make sure we're in the right place. So media, projects, our project, and this time we're going to put it right into our archive bin, and this way we know exactly where to find it when we have to ship it out. Okay, and we'll hit save here. Now we need to attend to our settings. Like I said, there were some changes that we're going to need to make because it didn't have exactly the preset we were looking for. So we'll go down here. We already have H.264 done, and we've got our video quality. We'll go ahead and make that maximum here. Why not? Save the best that we can. And here's a big one. We want to change the frame rate from 24 back to what we need, which is 2997. Now there's one more thing that we're going to need to change, and that's our bit rate. And you'll see that the bitrate data limit is set to 6,000, and we need to change that to 10,000 kilobits per second, or 10 megabits per second is what it also means. And that's pretty much all of our settings here. Now, if we don't want to have to make these changes again, we can go ahead and customize this with a name. We'll say for export to archive and DIMOC, and then I can go ahead and save that preset, and we'll call it DIMOC. And there are no filter or FTP settings, so we can leave those off. Now it's going to say, yes, I already had one there, and we knew it, and we'll overwrite that. Now next time I come in here, and for all of you, you'll be able to just select from your preset the DIMOC setting, which is what we did. Okay, we know our work area has been set up for us. We know that we have the right amount of our timeline to use. There's one last thing we need to do, and that's our metadata. So we're going to go again to our doubling core, and now we're going to have to type back in our metadata information, and we'll go ahead and quickly put in again. We'll put the type. This time it's not it's not a story, and we can say prime cuts, and I like to put in parentheses B-roll in case anyone didn't know. This is normally all the metadata that we would put in, but now because this is B-roll, there's one more area that we have to do, and that's the subject. The subject is the most important field here because those are our keywords. We're going to put in our keywords based partly on the list that we have in the appendix. So if you look at Appendix C in your copy of the workflow, you'll see a metadata keyword list, and you can choose keywords based on that list to start off with, and then if you want to add a little bit more detail, you can add additional keywords. But it's really important that you start with the list that is provided. This way, when you or someone else is searching for video, you can be confident that if you use the list here, you'll be able to find and retrieve video that you're looking for later. So based on our list, we'll put in Army, we'll put the MACOM USAR, USAR, we can put the country in there, Germany. We can put that it's a ceremony. Notice I'm putting a comma in between each one, and that's important. I can put leadership in here. And maybe I want to add a couple. Maybe I'll add ceremony and a little extra. How about Heidelberg? Alright, so now I've got my keywords set, and these keywords will be stored along with the file so that anyone looking for ceremony, oh actually look at that, I have ceremony in here twice, we'll fix that. Anybody looking for a ceremony in Heidelberg dealing with usurer, they can find the keywords that we have listed here. So it's really important that you take the time to find the keywords off the list, and then if you want to add one or two more, feel free. It'll make it easier for you to find later as long as you follow the keyword list. Okay, we click OK, and at this point we are ready to export, and as we covered previously, we can either queue it and let it load the media encoder, or we can export directly. And let's go ahead this time and export directly. Okay, when it's done, it takes us back to Premiere, and you can go on and do other things. Just so you can take a look, if we go to our Windows Explorer, we can go to our media drive, projects, our project, and if we go look in our archive, here is our archive B-roll with the .mov extension, the way Dymock has asked us to do it, and in here is all of the metadata that we have stored. Okay, I just wanted to give you a quick look at the Adobe Bridge program so that you can see what it is we've done to archive and how we can find that information that we loaded up for metadata. I'm going to navigate to our M drive, projects folder, our project, and our archive, and we'll see here is the VIR number of the story that, or the prime cuts for the story that I just put in. I can see quickly and scrub through the video to see if this is what I'm interested in, and if I want, I can then copy it to my media folder into the project that I'm getting ready to work on, and I have this video now. Very simple thing. Now it's easy here because there's only the one file. This will be incorporated into our locations archive with many others more than likely, and also at the regional level it will get combined with all the other stories from around the region. And then lastly, it will get pushed to Dymock, where we can go online and look for the footage and retrieve it ourselves again. Just wanted to give you a look at the metadata. If I go over to the metadata view here, and you can see that it gives me some information about the file itself, but more importantly, it's going to show me the information I put in. There's the name. Here is the description that I wrote for it, and the keywords that we put in there, as well as other information about the file. If we go back to Essential View, you'll notice that the keywords are also listed here, just as we typed them in, and now I can use this to search. And that's where the real power of Adobe Bridge comes in. If I have 200-300 prime cuts in here and I'm looking for a certain type, I can find army footage, maybe of ceremonies in Germany, and I can quickly go through and find a few choices, scrub through the video and say, that's what I'm looking for, and then copy that to my project folder and start editing with it.